All right, ready.
Hi, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation, Streamlining Study Abroad, How to Create a Pre-Approval Process for Study Abroad Courses. We've got our boarding pass all set and we are ready to take you on this journey. So we're going to start with introductions, and if you can put in the chat what department, college, office you're from, what your role is on campus, and how long you've been at UCSD, that would help us learn a little bit more about you and who's in attendance. I'm going to go ahead and start introductions. My name is Rachel Rigoli, and I'm an advisor in the Study Abroad office, and I've been at UCSD since 2003. I'm joined by three wonderful colleagues who will be co-presenting with me today, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Andrea, for introductions.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. My name is Andrea Willis. I am an academic advisor for our undergraduate program in the Computer Science and Engineering department, and I've been here for about 6 years now. And I'll pass it off to Quynh.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quynh, and I am one of the undergraduate advisor with cognitive science. I've been with CogSci for a little over 3 years, and I have been working with UCSD for about 5 years now. And pass it on to Camille.
My name is Camille Santa Elena. I'm an undergrad advisor in biological sciences, and I've been at UCSD in bio for a little over 4.5 years.
Rachel, you are muted right now.
Okay, thank you. So moving on, I would like to share the objectives for today's session. They're pretty straightforward. So number one is to share information, knowledge, expertise, experience with you. So you're going to be hearing from 3 different departments on how they implemented the pre-approval process, and they're going to share tips and advice with you and lessons learned. We also want to help you streamline the process. And with the idea to create a system that will reduce your workload when you're doing your study abroad advising. We also want to provide reassurance to our students. So we want to create a system that gives students confidence that the courses that they take abroad while studying abroad will count for major or college requirements back here at UCSD. And then lastly, number 4, we want to share resources with you about study abroad and academic advising. So I'm going to go through the study abroad alphabet soup. My co-presenters are going to be talking about different program types. They're going to be using acronyms, so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So these are the different types of programs that are available to UC San Diego students. So the most popular option, I would say, with UCSD students is the University of California Education Abroad program. And we call it UCAP, or EAP for even shorter. And this is our system-wide study abroad program that's offered through the UC system. So you have to be an enrolled UC college student in order to go on an UCAP program. And when students go on a UCAP, they're going to get UC units, they're going to get UC grades, and so it's very streamlined. The other program type available to our students is Global Seminars, or GS, and this is our very own summer faculty-led programs. So students will take 2 classes, they'll go abroad with a UCSD professor, they're going to get UCSD units, they're going to get UCSD grades, so again, very streamlined. The other program type available to our students is UC programs. And so students can go on faculty-led summer programs through other UC campuses like UC Davis or UC Berkeley or UC Riverside. And so they may choose another UC campus to go on a program through because maybe they find a better fit, through one of the other campuses. And again, it's very streamlined because it's going to be UC units and the grades are going to go onto their UCSD transcript. Global exchange is a newer option for our students. We call it GE for short. These are bilateral exchange agreements between UC San Diego and universities abroad. So they may be department to department. So for example, UCSD Linguistics, we have an exchange agreement with Macquarie University in Australia with their linguistics department, and so we exchange students. or it could be something that's open to all UCSD students. So it might be, like, for example, Japan, Kyoto University, any major can apply for that program. Now, unlike the other UC programs that our students can go on, Global Exchange does come back as transfer credit. So UCSD admissions reviews the courses, and they determine the unit value if the course is upper or lower division. So it does vary a little bit compared to the other program types that I just talked about. We're hoping to put in place a system where students on these bilateral exchange agreements can get UCSD credit. It's still a work in progress. And then the last program type is the Opportunities Abroad program. We call this OAP for short. And these are programs that are offered outside of UCSD or the UC system. So a student may go through a private study abroad provider, or maybe they do direct enrollment at an institution overseas. And one thing I realized I just failed to mention is my colleague, Sarah, and a few other of my other colleagues in the study abroad office offered a session through the UAAC Professional Development Series. It was offered last week, and it was an overview of study abroad. It was called Study Abroad Toolkit. And if you're new to study abroad and you weren't able to attend that session, I've asked Sarah, who I know is attending the session, to put the recording in the chat. So I would definitely encourage you to watch that recording, because she went into a lot of details about how study abroad works here at UCSD. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Camille in biological sciences to talk about their pre-approval process.
So in biosciences, we've implemented our pre-approval process since about 2010. So like the past 12 years. And how it was brought over to bio is our previous manager at that time used to work in the international studies program, and they had already implemented a pre-approval process there. So basically she just brought it over to bio, and we've been doing it since then. In terms of the overview of our process for UC, EAP, Global Exchange, OAP, course petitions. If a student is taking a course abroad or wants to take a course abroad that they want considered for equivalent credit at UCSD and bio. So for example, if they're taking a genetics course abroad, and they want to see if it's equivalent to the genetics course we offer at UCSD, BICD 100. We would route that petition for review by a faculty who has frequently taught BICD 100 or is currently teaching BICD 100. If a student is interested in having a course pre-approved or reviewed for general major credit, such as upper division biology elective credit, upper div neurobiology core credit, for example, our neurobiology majors, or just general upper div bio lab credit, we actually have those petitions reviewed for by our major faculty advisors. So in bio, we have an educational committee that's under the direction of our director of undergrad education. And then each of our 7 majors has assigned major faculty advisors. So if a neurobiology major wanted something reviewed for a neurobio core, I would route that petition to our neurobiology major faculty advisor. For global seminar petitions, hopefully most of you know that global seminar courses are really UCSD courses that are taught abroad. So an example is, UCSD offers a course called Psych 181, or that's the course number. And there's also a Psych 181 GS global seminar course. So essentially it's the same content. And for any course outside of bio, but taught at UCSD, that students want considered for bio major credit, we actually have those petitions reviewed by our educational committee. So again, that's our director of undergrad education for biosciences, and also our different major faculty advisors. So they review those petitions together. And then all of these program abroad courses are essentially eligible for to be conditionally approved, pre-approved before students go abroad. The one exception that I didn't list on this page, but that I'm going to share, is if a student is planning to go abroad and participate in a research project. Generally for research, there isn't like a standardized syllabus that students follow when they're participating in research. So if a student participates in a research program abroad and they want that considered for bio major credit, then they would need to petition that once they return. Next slide, please. So for our bio website, this is just like a little snippet of our site, and you'll see it for CSE and cognitive science, how they do it in their departments. We have a link on our page for any courses taken outside of our School of Biological Sciences. So on our course info page, students would click on that. It's like really teeny tiny, but it says search previously reviewed coursework taken outside of our school. So if you click enter again, yep, and then it would take students to this page. So I already filtered it to EAP, but really this list is any coursework students have petitioned for bio major credit. So it could include coursework from a non-bio department on campus. So anything from psych or cognitive science or anthropology, anything at other four-year institutions across the country, and of course, anything abroad. So I just filtered this to EAP. And so you could see like for the first school, University College London, Anatomy 0005 was previously reviewed and it was denied BIPN 100 and BICD 130 credit. For bio, we have 5-year expiration terms. So this is valid through fall 23. Now, if a student is trying to take this course winter 24 and nobody else has repetitioned this, then that student would need to repetition this course to have it considered for major credit. Next slide. So our pre-approval process, it might sound similar to probably what Andrea and Quynh explains for their department, but essentially what we recommend students do is check our bio website for our list of pre-approved courses. If a course hasn't been reviewed or if it's expired, then the student can opt to petition that abroad course for major consideration. So to petition it, they would submit that undergraduate petition form for a departmental exception. They would need to include a course description and a current syllabus for that course. So oftentimes students don't know how to access that syllabus. So we either refer them to study abroad or we recommend that they reach out to the actual school and department of the course they plan to take abroad to try to access a current syllabus for that course. They would submit the material to bio, then we would route that material to either specific faculty who teach that UCSD equivalent course for review, or like a major faculty advisor, like I mentioned a couple of slides ago. Usually we tell students it takes up to 4 weeks for petitions to be processed. Some faculty are pretty good about getting courses reviewed within like 1 to 2 weeks. In the summer, everybody's on their own schedule, so it might take a little bit longer, but generally we say it takes about 4 weeks. And you know, this past year we actually too just implemented a rule like whatever you submit the first time is what we're going to review. We're not going to go back and forth with a student about like resubmitting new materials. So we're not having like back and forth exchange for like 2 months. So we try to encourage students to like submit everything you can that first time, because that's what we're going to forward to faculty. After the petition is reviewed, we notify the student the outcome via the VAC. Now, the student hasn't actually taken the course yet, right, for this pre-approval process. So we let them know the course has been conditionally approved or denied if it's denied. If the student ends up taking that course, we tell them to notify us once their final grade is posted for that course, so we can make sure that the course title and number matches, they meet other criteria, which I'll go over on the next slide. And if everything matches up, then we would update their record. Okay, so our minimum criteria, so we When we let the student know that their petition request has been conditionally approved, we also include this criteria in that messaging, so they're aware beforehand that we want to make sure it's UC transferable, it's upper division if they're trying to satisfy an upper div major requirement, it's taken before that expiration term, they need a C- or better because that's our major requirement. Other stipulations of meeting bioresidency. And then that last piece is still related to bioresidency. So next slide. And then that's pretty much the process. So essentially, just like some positive takes on the pre-approval process, it really is just like a great service for students to feel more comfortable about the credit they can receive prior to enrollment. You know, we always encourage like time to degree. So it kind of gives them a sense of comfort knowing that, you know, they're possibly taking something that they can use for their major. Another like pro about this in terms of bio having a 5-year expiration term. We have the 5-year expiration term because it allows faculty to re-review content, course material, or content can change over the years. So we want to make sure that the course is still relevant and applicable to a student's major. Some lessons that I've learned. Oftentimes we have students who like haven't taken a course, whether it's like something abroad or just some other institution, and they'll submit like 10 petitions at a time, which is way too much. So we ask students to limit it to like 5 at a time so they have like a place to start. And then lastly, I just encountered this issue, I guess, in the past quarter. A student petitioned something abroad or an abroad course that was conditionally approved. But when their coursework actually posted to their record, the course like subject, the course subject and number didn't match with the student petition. So it was a little bit of a challenge because I was, you know, wondering like, okay, do I need to have them repetition? They were actually supposed to graduate that quarter. But I did a little investigative work. I didn't know originally where to start, but I started with admissions, who directed me to the UC EAP office. And they were really helpful in, you know, showing me like how they converted their course numbers from the abroad institution to UC EAP. And it was actually the same. So the student didn't need to repetition. So that was like a little like pause moment, but I was able to find a solution to that. So yeah, that's what we do in bio. I'm going to pass it over to Andrea.
Thanks, Camille. So hi, everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Andrea, and I'm going to be telling you about the pre-approval system that we set up in the CSE department. This was set up prior to when I started in this role in 2018. So I'm not exactly sure exactly when, maybe around 2017, I think it might have gone into place. Our process is pretty similar to the bio department, but there are some differences. And then also just to be clear with how I'm talking about things here, because pre-approval can mean a few different things. I'm going to differentiate by noting an individual pre-approval, which is specific approval in place for one individual students that requested it, versus a standing pre-approval, which is in place for all students as long as they meet the right conditions, which I'll elaborate on in just a minute. So in CSE, we do individual pre-approvals for our study abroad transfer courses, pretty much in the same way that we process equivalency petitions for any other transfer course. But we also have a list on our website of our standing pre-approvals from popular study abroad programs amongst students in our major. Next slide, please. So when a student comes to us, they're planning to study abroad, we recommend that they check what we have standing approvals for by looking at our website, which I've got a screenshot up here. I'll put the link in the chat too. Oh, Camille got it, thank you. So this is basically just a table on our website. We haven't embedded anything. So if we're making any changes to this information, we just edit our website directly. If a course is listed here, students don't need to petition it with us. We're going to give them the credit that is listed here as long as they take that course within the time frame listed in the far right columns. So you can see that these standing pre-approvals are in place for a timeline of like 3 to 5 years. It just depends on what our faculty recommend. Right now, a lot of our approvals have expired since we haven't had as many students studying abroad the past few years, but we're leaving them up on our website just to give students a good idea of what's been approved in the past, which can kind of help them with planning and submitting their own petitions. And then if a petition comes through for a class that was expired, that gives us an opportunity to review some more recent course content from that class and then update that expiration date. So this page is the end result of that whole pre-approval process. In the next slide, I'll tell you more about how we got to this point. If you can, thank you. So say a student comes to us planning to take a course, it's not listed on our website, or it is listed there, but that approval has expired. And then in those instances, that's when they have to submit a petition to our department requesting to use that transfer course to receive credit for CSE class. We recommend that students submit those petitions well before they leave for their study abroad program. That way they have some certainty of what they're going to receive credit for before they go and actually enroll in those classes. And then like Camille mentioned too, we tell students it can take over a month just to make sure that they can get everything in and get our faculty to review it in time for them to enroll in their classes. For our petitions, we use the online petition tool that's built through the chemistry department. So this process all takes place within our petition tool. But with their petition, students have to include the name of the university that they're studying at, the course number and title. They have to list the CSE course that they want credit for. We just have students make their best guess on this and look at our course descriptions to determine what might be a good fit. If the class that they're taking abroad seems like a good CS class, but doesn't exactly match what they're requesting, we'll give them some advice about how to repetition, or we will approve classes for just general CSE major elective credit as well. So that's a nice like catch-all for classes that don't exactly align with our major department classes. Also, they need to include syllabi or some sort of a description that outlines what they're doing in the course. I think that UCEAP database has a lot of this information available for students, but we also had students, search the university's website, work with the study abroad office to find some of this information. And obviously, we want these documents to be submitted in English whenever possible. So then once it's submitted, it comes to advising first, and I'll check to make sure that they filled everything out accurately before we send it off to faculty for review. Within our department, we have a list of multiple faculty members that are attached to each of our courses. It's just like an internal document that we keep. So that's what I refer to in order to know who gets each petition. So I'll send it off to the first faculty member from that group, and I ask them to review the petition both individually, and then also asking them to review whether or not this course seems like it could be eligible for a standing pre-approval for all of our students. So then if they approve on both counts, I'll route it to the second faculty member on that class list. And then their role is to review specifically for the standing pre-approval for all of our students. We only bring the second person into the review process if we're thinking about making something a standing pre-approval. Otherwise, if it's just going to be approved individually, then we'll skip this step. But if that second person approves, then we'll forward it on to the chair of our undergraduate faculty committee for final approval. And then we also ask this person to advise on how long the approval should be in place for. So we have at least 3 faculty reviewers looking at all of these requests for a standing pre-approval. And then if they approve everything, the last step is to finalize the petition for that individual student. And then we also will update that page on our website to reflect what we have a standing approval for. Next slide. So similarly to bio, all of these pre-approvals, both the individual approvals and the standing approvals, are all conditionally approved. Conditions are that it has to be a UC transferable course, has to come in as upper division course credit if that's what we've approved it for, and it should be at least 4 units if it's fulfilling a 4-unit course requirement. So once students return from their time abroad, we're going to have them follow up with us on the VAC once their transfer credit has been posted. And then at that time, we just double check that the course number and title are the same. And then we'll go into ISIS and give them the credit that they're pre-approved for. We do not double check the course content at this point. As long as that course title and number are the same as what's on their academic history, we will give them that transfer credit that they petitioned for. So some of the pros of this process are that the student has some certainty on the courses that they're taking that will keep them on track with all of their degree requirements. And also having those standing pre-approvals in place reduces our administrative workload so that not every course needs to be petitioned. But the downside is that the course content could vary slightly within that approval period. So it might be a little bit of a different class than what they were originally pre-approved for. So that's just something that we need to accept and be okay with in our process. So that's it for CSE. I'm going to pass it off to Quynh next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Quynh, and I will discuss the study abroad pre-approval process for cognitive science. Could you move to the next slide, please? Thank you. Okay, so here's our overview for all the different study abroad program. For the UCEAP program, which is the most popular one for our student, I think, student will submit their academic planning form for signature and along with the course syllabi if they want to be pre-approved via the Try and Abroad portal. This is also a new, the Try and Abroad portal also, I think just recently integrate their APF form and syllabi upload onto the Try and Abroad portal, which we find pretty helpful since it's kind of combine everything into one place. And students a little bit different for CogSci than CSE and bio is that we do require students to submit petition upon returning. For the OAP, it's similar. Student is also required to submit a petition when they return. For global seminar, if a global seminar courses is on the list of CogSci approved electives, then it will automatically be accepted. Like Camille mentioned earlier, a global seminar, it's just a UCSD course. Currently, we don't have any process for the global exchange. I don't think I've seen any student from our department doing global exchange, but if that does happen, we probably will have them petition something similar. Next slide, please. And here is the process for the student for the pre-approval process for CogSci. We do have a pre-approved Google Sheet that is embedded on our website that student could check. If the course they wanted to take are not listed on the pre-approval sheet, they are welcome to submit attached course syllabi for the pre-approval to their Try and Abroad portal when they submit their APF form as well. And then an advisor will review their APF form, and then they will move forward the syllabi to one of our faculty advisor to see if the course can be tentatively pre-approved for the student. And then once we hear back from the faculty advisor, this process typically happens like twice a month. So we will compile a list of pre-approval request courses to the faculty advisor and like twice in a month. And then once we hear back, the student, we will sign the APF form along with providing the student the decision about the pre-approval courses. And once the student took the course abroad and returned, they will officially file for petition to have that pre-approved courses accept to their major upon returning. And this process is a little bit different than CSE and bio in that term that the student should, keep their syllabus while they are abroad. And that would kind of help the student to kind of help us actually to make sure that the contents are up to date. And once the student return and successfully petition that course toward their major requirement, then we actually will add that course to the pre-approved sheet. That will save one step. And next slide, please. And here is our pre-approved sheet. It is an Excel sheet, and we just kind of linked it onto our website under our study abroad page. And here we kind of divide it into the category, the requirements that a course might count instead of the specific course. So that way, if a course is maybe 80%, 90% related to our courses, then that could be accepted. This way, it makes things a little bit easier for the student, that they don't have to kind of find specific course and kind of make guesses on whether or not this might count toward which course. And next slide, please. And here are some of the conditions for students when they come back and petition the course. For us, the courses must be UC transferable. And if they want to use it toward their major core or elective, they have to be up a division. We do ask students to take major courses with a letter grade with a C- or better, and it must be at least transferred to 4 unit. For students who major in CogSci, they can take up to 2 core courses and 3 elective outside of the Cogs department. For students who are major in cognitive behavior neuroscience, which is a joint major between the Cogs department and the Psych department, they can take up to 3 upper division courses outside of UC San Diego. One problem that I did encounter recently was that one of the students took courses in France, and the syllabi were all in France, or they were not or I think the school did not provide syllabi for students. So when the student returned, we do ask students try to do their best to kind of create their own syllabi in English. And if the school do provide syllabi in a different language, then it is the student responsibility to provide us with an English translation of the syllabi so we can make the decision. And next slide, please. And here are some of the positive outcome and lessons that we've learned. So before the Try Abroad portal kind of became a little bit more streamlined, we had students like submit 2 different things with their academic planning form goes to one place, and then their pre-approval courses goes to another for pre-approve. So now students can submit everything under one portal, and that all goes to us, to one person, and then we can send it to the faculty advisor for review. And before the Streamline, students sometimes could submit up to 20 syllabi for pre-approval, sometimes because they would submit 10 for one school, and then later on change their mind, submit another 10, 15 from another school. And so that's sort of increased the workload for us. So with the Streamline via Try Abroad portal, it is limit the student to submit, hey, at least max 8 courses if you're going on a quarter semester study. And if you do it for yearly, then student can submit up to 16. And then with pre-approval sheet, I guess that it does help the student to save a step where if they choose the courses that were already pre-approved, then they typically 95% chances they will come back petition and it will be approved again. And we'll say next slide, please. And I guess here's a really nice comment from one of the study abroad students who are in our department about the study abroad process. And that should conclude my presentation for today.
Thank you. Thank you, Quynh. Thank you, Camille and Andrea, for going through your process with everyone and sharing your expertise and what you've learned. We realize that, starting creating a pre-approval process, may be time intensive, and it's not something you can do, quickly and necessarily have in place for the fall quarter. So we have some additional suggestions. I would certainly suggest just, if you're going to get started, maybe you start with one program type. So maybe EAP would be the easiest for you. But you also can add some information on your website while you're working on your pre-approval process. So I wanted to share some resources that might be available to you. and that you might want to consider adding to your the study abroad page on your department or college website. So, a simple option would be to share a list of courses that have been previously approved. So maybe they're not pre-approved, but students can at least see what's been approved in the past by your department or college. And then we also have a UCAP campus credit database. And that campus credit database is linked on our website. You can access it. You can link to it on your website. And UCAP has pulled data from the UCSD Registrar's Office, and it shows the courses that have been taken on the EAP program and how those courses have been approved for credit here at UCSD. So you could certainly download an Excel spreadsheet or just link to the campus credit database so your students are aware of it. The other thing that you might want to consider doing in addition to approval process or while you're getting started on it is to provide information on the types of courses that you're allowing your students to take abroad and how many. So if you cap the number of courses for your major or your minor, listing that is really helpful to students in the planning process. And so I know international studies, I think there's some international studies advisors in attendance today. They have a very nice table on their website that sort of outlines what types of courses students should look for when they're looking for courses abroad. The other thing that you could consider doing is creating a 2 or 4 year academic plan and share that with your students. I know biological sciences has something like this. So they have their 2 and 4 year plan, and then they have a 2 and 4 year plan that says plus study abroad. And what they've done is they've plugged in study abroad, and they show the students when would be the best time for students in that major to study abroad. And then they also highlight the types of courses that they recommend. So I think they list upper division biological sciences electives. So that's something that you can consider creating and sharing with your students that doesn't take a whole lot of time. The other resource I wanted to share with you is the maps that we have on the Study Abroad website. And MAP stands for Major Advising Pages. I think we have a lot of departments, but we don't have every department. So on these maps, it's information for students on how they can study abroad in their major. And so if we don't have your department on our website under the major advising pages, please reach out to us. We would love to add you, or if there's content that needs to be updated or changed, please let us know. But this is a really nice resource for your students. And so that's something you could certainly add to your website. And then the last resource I wanted to share with you, and we know, creating a pre-approval process or updating your study abroad information and streamlining your process can take time and resources. And UCAP does have an academic integration grant that they make available to campuses. Unfortunately, I don't have the information for the application process for next year. But if you're interested in applying, please put something in the chat and I'll get that information to you. And, I think in the past it's been $5,000. I know Biological Sciences has gotten the grant to create a professionally made video about the study abroad process and how it all works. So if that's something you're interested in learning more about, I'll get that information to you, and we're certainly here to help you in this process. So thank you for taking this journey with us today. We appreciate you attending the session. I did want to provide our email information. So if you have any questions after the session, feel free to reach out to us. We're going to open up to questions in a second, but here's all of our email addresses. So feel free to reach out to us. If you're starting this process, we're certainly here to help you. And so we're going to go ahead and take questions, but I wanted to turn it over to Megan, our UAAC representative, to close us out before we open it up to questions.
Thanks, Rachel. All right. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to quickly say we'll be sending out a reminder for all of the remaining UAAC Professional Development Series sessions that are still coming up at the end of the summer if you'd like to attend. So keep an eye out for that email. And I'm going to hand it back to you, Rachel. Feel free to take questions.
Okay, so I think we have, I was just going through the chat. If you want to go ahead, I think it's a small group. If you just want to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question, that may be easier than scrolling through the chat. And I know there was one that was put in the chat. So there was Christina asked a question for everyone, not just the panelists. Do any departments allow lower division courses to be taken abroad and apply for major, minor? Do any of our presenters want to answer that question?
Sure. I put this in the chat too, if you want that information, but we do allow students to petition for lower division CSE course credit taken abroad. But most of the time our students aren't studying abroad in their first couple of years at UCSD. It's usually more in like their junior or senior year. So at that point, they are taking more upper division classes anyway.
Thank you, Andrea. I didn't see all the chats since I was in charge of forwarding slides.
It's hard to present and read the chat at the same time. But yeah, so I added a response in there too, like students for bio can petition or opt to take lower div major coursework abroad, but it could just get very complex, you know, like similar to a student who wants to complete some of their lower div major coursework at the community college. Like sometimes they don't teach like a course for course equivalent. Sometimes it's like a series they need to complete. So we try to encourage students to just complete their lower div coursework and like foundational major coursework at UCSD for bio, just to kind of avoid something that could be an issue, or, you know, possibly not having the same academic preparation in terms of like content that they would need if it was like a prerequisite course for an upper div course that they needed to take. But we've had students who have petitioned, but similar to Andrea, oftentimes our students like study abroad during like their maybe like second or third year. We try to encourage students, if they can find something during the summer, to go during the summer, so it doesn't impact any, you know, other major requirements that, you know, if they have a major course that is only offered once a year, it wouldn't conflict with that. And then two, like for us, like I mentioned earlier, like Psych 181 is a psych class, but it's actually approved for bio elective credit. And typically that global seminar course is taught during the summer. So that's like a great way for students to get that experience of being abroad, but still be able to stay on track of like a 4-year or 2-year plan.
Yes, I also mentioned is in the chat that CogSci also do allow students to take lower division courses abroad, similar to both bio and CSE. Most of the time, you don't see students choosing lower division that much, unless, you know, they might have just saved certain lower division until their third year. Otherwise, I don't really see too many. And since we do allow students to substitute certain courses from other departments toward their lower division, so I sometimes we usually find something abroad for them. Sometimes they come back upper division anyway, but since if it's were pre-approved and it's upper division, we would happily use it toward the lower division as well.
I'm going to put a couple of my study abroad colleagues on the spot. I've got, I see Jay is in attendance. I don't know, Jay, if you want to say hi. He's the director of academic integration. And then Sarah Vatch is in attendance, and she's one of the study abroad advisors.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jay. It's great to be here. Fantastic presentation. Thank you, panelists, for addressing this, and thank you, Rachel, for helping to make it happen. I work with the engineering departments, and so I don't think we've actually met yet, Andrea, but I worked with Veronica at Bro. She was at CSC, and she really was instrumental before you had gotten there to help with the CSC pre-approval process. And I just want to state and reiterate what folks were saying earlier, just encouraging your department to explore this option. I can't stress it enough. It really helps a lot of the advisors, you all, do your jobs, and it reinforces for the student, yes, I can do this, and my department supports it. And so definitely, I remember probably the main challenge that I would hear from departments in terms of exploring pre-approval. And you're right about the terminology, pre-approval versus petitioning and all of that, is a fear of losing autonomy. Right? Oh, students, if we pre-approve a course and students, the course has changed, and, oh my goodness, we can't have that. But I love this idea of having an expiration date on these courses to really, put the power back on you all in the department and the faculty to revisit courses to make sure they're updated and the same course as 2 years ago. And so it's a fantastic process. Our goal is to try to get more students abroad. And so thank you all for helping to make that happen. Sarah, did you want to say something?
Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all. And to those of you collaborating with Rachel, we're very appreciative over at Study Abroad. And it's great to see some familiar faces of those who joined our advisor toolkit. I added it to the chat, the recording of our session. I can do it again. We're also so happy to meet with you individually or at your staff meetings via Zoom. Or however you all are meeting, if you have particular questions. Each advisor in our office liaisons with departments on campus, so please reach out to us if you're unsure of who that is, and we can connect and have more. If you would like a specific conversation about your department and Study Abroad, but this is a fantastic presentation. Thank you all for putting this together. It really is this collaboration that helps us as advisors in Study Abroad, but also our students just feel more confident about taking that leap. We know UCSD students are very focused and driven, and they like a plan. And so it's one thing for us to promote Study Abroad, but to also hear from your side, it really, it instills in the student that they're supported, and it makes them feel more confident about their choices and to take the leap and the risk of studying abroad and make it a reality. So I'm just very appreciative of you all being here today. And also it helps us as advisors. A lot of the time we are helping the students navigate your websites as well. So to see this information posted is so helpful for us as well, helps us help the student navigate. I liaison with CogSci, so I'm on that spreadsheet a lot, and I love it. And I see the joy in students' faces when they see, ooh, look at that country that popped up or whatnot. So I just want to reiterate, we're here for you all as well as a resource. And thank you for being here today.
And I'll just add one more thing too, just kind of going off what Jay and Sarah are saying. There, especially in the CSE department, we have a lot of upper division course requirements, and it's a pretty jam-packed program. And so a lot of students think it's like not even possible for them to study abroad. So just even having the page on the website where they can see, oh, other students have done this in the past, that kind of like Sarah was saying, they get excited and they see that they do have that opportunity available to them. So just having some information about it, even on your website, is helpful to let students know that it's definitely possible for them.
Well, I'll give it another minute or so in case there's any questions that pop up, but otherwise I know it's close to lunchtime. Everybody's probably hungry. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat before we go ahead and end the meeting, or feel free to unmute yourself. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and call it then. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to my co-presenters. Thank you for Jay and Sarah for letting me put you on the spot, and enjoy your lunch. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye.